3-hour maintenance scheduled for this Tuesday, and what does that mean? It's the opening of the Mythic Race to World First and everything else that's coming with it. Also, some delve fixes. We're going to talk a little bit about delves because may have misspoken last week and said that everyone just has to get good. Well, maybe delves were a little bit broken, to be honest. So let's talk a little bit about these things. Mythic Nerubar Palace, as I said, opens this week. That means the Race to World First kicks off. All of your favorite teams will be competing to kill Queen and Sarek the quickest. That's what it's all about. You can watch these things usually on YouTube and Twitch. The Race to World First is fun. Of course, seeing the Mythic fight for the first time is always cool. And checking out who, in fact, will get the kill first. Also, some notable things that are going to be dropping this week. If you are planning to do Mythic, there are some really cool things coming. Of course, Reigns of the Skyward. This one drops on all difficulties, so you get yourself the purple and white one if you want to get it on any difficulty. But this week, of course, with Mythic kicking off, this is the Mythic mount. Yeah, the red and white, the albino version. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was looking at it, I'm like, which one of these is the Mythic one? Yeah, it's the white and red one, which is really cool. Again, this will be the one that people will be trying to farm later on, but for now, only the Mythic boys can get it. There's also this mount. What is this? For Glory of the Nerubar Radar. You can get this one if you unlock that achievement. This is just a little spider boy, a little fidgety boy. Yeah, it's okay. It's not my favorite mount in the world, but hey, it's a mount nonetheless, and mounts are always one of the best things to get in the game. Moving on to the armor sets. So, of course, there's the Mythic armor sets. Those will be something people will be able to get this week. And with the Mythic armor sets, you can also get the Luminous Nerubian Catalyst. So if you like the animations on the Mythic armor sets, you know, the extra glow effects and everything else, this will allow you to apply that glow effect to all the other ones. So maybe you like the colorway of the heroic version, but you like the glow effects of the Mythic version. Well, with this Luminous Nerubian Catalyst Stone, you'll be able to apply what is essentially the Mythic glow effects to all your other sets. So you can have the heroic colorway with the Mythic glows, which is really cool, and I like that Blizzard's doing that, actually, because the Mythic version isn't always my favorite, I'll be honest. Moving on to some weapons, of course, some big boy weapons. All of these are going to be dropping this week. Some really cool stuff. The Void Wrap Blades, which is really nice. All these voidy looking weapons, honestly, they've been doing it for me. I've been liking a lot of the aesthetic of the things that are dropping. But yep, these will be dropping this week. Mythic Raid kicking off, and of course, everyone will be doing the Mythic World First race. Okay, let's talk about delves. I said last week that you know, you just got to get good. Stop bitching, stop complaining. And, you know, I'm a man of the people, after all, and I'm willing to take some things back. So here it is. You do got to get good. You know, tier 8 delves should be hard. They're giving you heroic level raid gear in your vault, but scaling was clearly broken. Clearly, scaling was broken in a way that was making things more difficult than they needed to be. And Blizzard's trying to fix that. So here are some hotfixes they put in place. And hopefully these are going to fix things. But for one, Bran evidently was getting some buffs that he wasn't supposed to be getting. So Bran was getting buffs that were supposed to be contributed to the mobs in the raid.
How about you get good?
Yeah, well, that's always a good one, too. Get good. Obviously, even when it was broken, there were some people who took their time and were able to complete Tier 8 delves. But on top of that, no, some things actually were broken. There was a serious bug that under specific circumstances causes Bran to inherit the health and damage bonuses meant for the enemies. So he was going on full roided Bran. That's no longer going to be a thing. But still, Bran across everything else is going to be getting an increase in health and damage by 125% all tiers. So Bran's getting a slight nerf in terms of the bug, but that wasn't happening for everybody. But overall, everyone will see a stronger and better Bran for the most part. 125% increase is really nice, and Bran will actually be able to do some things for some people, whereas sometimes he was just completely useless, so that's good. The other thing is in the patch notes here, there's a lot of stuff, but specifically related to delves, they're addressing scaling issues, and really that was the main problem. Things were not scaling properly. When you were going into a group or going in solo, sometimes the scaling was getting completely scuffed, and you were either getting one-shotted or being able to easily complete them. So here it is. They are addressing scaling issues causing enemies and delves to deal more damage than intended, especially for groups and tanks. So here are the notes. Over the last day, we sought to address unintended circumstances where certain group compositions made the health of enemies lower than they were if the delve was ran by yourself. We also tried to move some of the harder affixes from the first appearing in Tier 9 and above into Tier 8. The results were not what we wanted, so they had moved them down. Now they're going to kick them out again. We've now brought the enemy damage back down, closer to their targets and what they most wanted it to be. And then the most difficult affixes have been sent back up to Tier 9, so Tier 8 should be easier in general because of that. Scaling adjustments should make groups easier for solo play and less lethal. So there you go, guys. The complaints were in fact valid on a lot of these scaling issues. Sometimes people were going in and completely broken. Now, this wasn't every single person experiencing this. It seemed to be completely broken for some, and others were okay, depending on what and when you were going in. But now it should be a little bit better. Initial delve who tuning hotfixes. There's also been some mini bosses removed. If you remember the deadly Zekvir mini bosses that would show up in Tier 8 dungeons, those have been removed. People were trying to avoid them all the time. They were annoying as shit. Now they're not going to be in Tier 8 anymore. And again, solo scaling and group scaling, things have been fixed. We've seen 20% nerfs for some things. Other things, the scaling was completely broken. It should all be fixed, at least by the end of maybe Tuesday's maintenance. These things were happening over the weekend throughout hotfixes, so they're not waiting for maintenance to fix these things. But I'm guessing you could assume that by the time maintenance passes on Tuesday or Wednesday if you're in Europe, that this should be in a better place. In terms of delves, though, what's the best to run this week? Coming up after reset, well, for bountiful delves, it looks like the best rankings. These are just kind of, what people see is the most easy. We have Takarethan Abyss, Tier A, as a A tier. Myth, what is this? Myomancer, Cavern, B tier. Krigval's Rest, D tier, and then Waterworks is F tier. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing Waterworks. It's just kind of if you have to prioritize which one to do. Maybe you're at the end of the week, you don't have a lot of time, or you're out of coffer keys, you only got one left. Maybe doing Takarethan is the best one to do. Again, these are all for kind of fun, and people just rank them out every week, and this is the ranks coming out for September 14th's Bountiful Delves. Some farming that you're going to want to do. Now, this farming is going to be you're going to want to do it this season because these mounts are not going to be available after these dungeons rotate out of the Mythic season. So this mount right here, the Mecha mount, as they call it, the malfunctioning Mecha suit, is only available for this season because once this dungeon rotates out for next season, this is only available in Mythic. You won't be able to get it anymore. So the way you get it is actually in Stone Vault. You run Stone Vault, and you get the malfunctioning Mecha suit quest. So this is a quest that you'll get. It drops off of the Void Speaker, Erich, and you'll be able to get it from the Stone Vault only in Mythic difficulty. Once it drops, you'll complete the quest, and you'll be able to get the Mecha suit. A really cool thing. So running Stone Vault a little bit more this season might be a good idea if you are a mount chaser. As for the Wicked Lead, which is Wick's Lead, which is the little mole rat looking guy, this is drops from Darkframe Cleft, which is not part of Seasons 1's rotation, so you can't get it this season, but maybe next season. So these two will kind of bounce between the seasons as it rotates through. This season, focus on getting Mecha Suit from Stone Vault. It's a badass mount, I'm not going to lie. Tuning. Class tuning is occurring. That's right, you're going to want to do some checks on how your class's DPS is looking or healing's looking after this week's reset. Let's get into who the winners and losers are of the tuning battles. So overall for Death Knight, Sand Lane looks like it's getting a buff across the board, which is interesting because I haven't seen a lot of people playing Sand Lane. Maybe Blizzard wants to make it more viable. So there you go, Sand Lane getting buffs all over the place. Havoc Demon Hunters seeing their I-beams reduced a little bit in terms of damage. It looks like it's hitting less parties and doing a little bit less pumping. But from what I've seen, Havoc Demon Hunters have been doing decently, and I-beam was maybe a bit overpowered. For Druids, we're seeing balances across the board in all three specs. Balance, Feral, and Resto getting massive buffs. I mean, 20% buffs for some of these abilities. Huge buffs all across the board. It looks like, I guess, Druid was a little bit behind. They're trying to pull him up. Evoker seeing damage increased for Disintegrate and Eternity Surge, so that's good for them. Mages, Arcane getting a bit of reductions on things. I mean, Arcane's been leading quite hard, at least. They've been leading in a big way, so Arcane getting reduced a little bit. Fire getting increased for a couple things, Living Bomb, and all other abilities by 6%, so that's pretty good for them. Monk, Mistweaver getting increased, and Windwalker getting increased, so, Windwalker getting a reduction here. The rate reduced for their passive trigger of Hurricanes, so Mistweaver getting buffed, Windwalker getting a slight reduction, but not a big deal. Paladin is a weird one. So Holy is seeing healing reductions, but damage increases. I don't know what the point of that is, because who cares about how much damage their Holy Paladin's doing? But there it is. You're seeing damage increases for Holy Paladin, but reductions in their healing. I don't know how good they're doing right now in terms of healing. We'll look at the charts after this, but there it is. Retribution Paladin also seeing a reduction in Dawn's Light by 15%. Shadow Priest seeing an increase for them, so that's nice. Outlaw Rogue getting decreases here. I don't know how good Outlaw Rogue is right now. Again, we'll look at the charts in a second, but some pretty big reductions across the board for Outlaw Rogue. I guess we'll see how that balances out for them in the end. Shaman. Enhancement Shaman. What is going on with them? All abilities and damage increased by 4%, so nice buffs for them. Resto increased as well, so again, I've been calling it. What is up, POTUS King? The expansion for Shamans, it really is. Shamans have been in a great spot. They've been getting buffed. They've been getting the love. They're getting their new forms and everything. It's a good time to be in Shaman, and maybe Shaman tanks coming just around the corner. You never know. Demo Warlock increased. Destro Warlocks increased. Thank you for the 200 bits, POTUS. It's a good one. Yeah, Warlocks needed. I've been seeing Warlock damage, hovering in the mid-tier, so it's good to see Warlocks are getting some love here. Warriors seeing a bit of a decrease in terms of arms and fury, but Colossus and Mountain Thane. Colossus looks like it's getting a bit of a buff here. I haven't been seeing a lot of people playing Colossus. Mountain Thane is the one everyone loves, so that's good for her there. And then Mountain Thane, in general, Thunder Blast, Lightning Strikes, and Ground Current damage increased by 6%, so also a buff for Mountain Thane. That's good for them. The rest of this is PvP related. I usually don't read this, but you can always see. I'll throw the links down below, and you guys can check out how those are balancing out. Now let's check out the real numbers. The first week of Raid leads to the first week of DPS Charts. That's right. Let's check it out. DPS Charts. How's everybody doing? How's it looking? Yeah, good to see you too, POTUS. And where are the rankings right now? Where does everybody stand? Obviously, these might change after the nerfs and the buffs and everything else. But first things first, let's get into it. Overall damage. Here it is. Furry Warrior. Yes, we are in the age of furries. There it is. Furry Warrior at the top. Outlaw Rogue just behind. Enhancement Shaman. The highest I've seen in a long time. Oh my god. Charp's coming in with a gifted sub and kicking it off. Caledon. Deathlight of our Scourge. Congratulations. Thank you for the hype train, boys. Yeah, it's a good time to be a Shaman. Burning, thank you for the 100 bits. And Arcane Mage just behind. Now, Arcane got a bit of a nerf, but I still think they're going to be at a really good spot. Arms Warrior behind them. Ret Pally. Surprising, because early on estimations had Ret Pally near the bottom, and they are not. They are not. They're doing really good, actually. They're sitting up there in the top, what is that, 6? Yeah, so that's pretty good. Frost DK behind them, Windwalker, and then it starts to go down. Enhancement Marksmanship. The boys in the middle here, really a mixture of Hunter and Rogue specs with a little bit of Warlock mixed in between. As I said, Warlock, look at them. This is their Affliction's their highest one. And then Destro and Demo are down here, so they needed the buffs they're going to get this week. That's pretty good for them. We see the rest of these. Augmentation, always hard to spec or track. Balanced Druid down below here. Fire Mage is getting buffs this week, so that's good because they're near the bottoms. Let's check out the damage to bosses, which matters a little bit more than overall damage. Let's see how these boys are ranking out, and there it is. Now you see why Arcane is getting a little bit of a nerf. I mean, that's wild. That's wild. So there it is. Way ahead. POTUS coming in with the sub. Thank you so much. 3 months.
Choo-choo locomotive.
Oh, man. All the love. So much. Arcane Mage getting a bit of a nerf. They probably still will be number 1 after this week's nerfs, but right now they are just by far and away leading everybody in terms of damage. Beast Mastery Hunter coming up behind them. Arms Warrior. Enhancement Shaman. Again, Enhancement doing big numbers and multi-target and single target. It's just a good time to play Shaman right now. Outlaw Rogue, Sub-Titty Rogue, Ass Rogue, kind of all sitting there, sandwiched with a Warlock in between. That's good for them. I think we saw that Rogues are getting a bit of a reduction this week. We'll see how all of that balances out. Furry Warrior was the top of overall, but for boss damage sitting right here, that's just fine for them. We got the Hunters in the middle. They've all been kind of doing fine down here, besides Beast Mastery here at the top. And then we got Frost DK, Windwalker, Elemental, and then down at the bottom, Augie, hard to track. Demo and Destro. Again, Warlock, it's been tough. It's been tough for Warlocks. And then actually Mage, if you're not playing Arcane, they're not doing that great either. Shadow Priest down here as well. So we'll see how all of these charts balance out in the end. But for now, This is the current standings, and the big movers, well, there aren't any. We'll look every week to see where it tracks, but for the first week of Nerubar Palace, this is the current overall damage, how they rank, and we'll track these throughout every week. I'll report on them and see how things are moving up and down. We'll see how the things look after the first week of rebalancing.